Good, all right. Good evening, welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting. It is Thursday, December 5th. To the clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Horian, Councilman Ferry,
Here.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano,
Present.
Councilman Wall.
Here.
Thank you. Next order of business is the approvals of the minutes of the November 14, 2024 regular meeting.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, to the clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano,
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
You. Next order is a committee business matters carried over. The first item is under Council President Marino. I'm going to continue this item. Can I continue it at all? Because it's now next council session won't be until January. You can always add it later, or why don't we maybe continue it towards the city council meeting? Can we add this to the city council meeting instead of the agenda?
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that in the meantime? And then if the council president so wishes not to have it on the city council meeting, she can always withdraw it or discuss that with you, Rosalba or the clerk. Great, thank you. Next item is Councilman Wall. Councilman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I don't see anybody. Did I just see Director Moretti come in? Is he there? Director Moretti? I'm probably putting you in an awkward position because I usually ask these questions to the Public Works Acting Director. Is there anything to add regarding the flood issues that were on Poplar Circle and Poplar Drive?
There's nothing further than what the former acting director indicated. There's been no updates and correct. So no further action's been taken without any staff to address it.
And going forward, because I'm going to keep this on the agenda, will you be the person who will be discussing this with the Public Works Committee?
We have Mr. Frank Correo, just appointed him, or he's coming in on a part-time basis. Just as someone to, fill the gaps in the time being, just to keep the trains moving. He could be here, but we don't have any other engineers on site. So you could bring it up. Frank would likely be here, but I'm not expecting a lot of progress until we really get that department staffed, because now we don't have a DPW director nor a chief engineer. We are advertising.
Well, I'm assuming you'll bring him up to speed and he'll be able to bring us up to speed. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, but I could say that if he was standing here right now, he'd say there's no update from what Justin had mentioned last month.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other items related to this or questions regarding this matter? No. Would you, what would you like, Councilman?
I would like you to leave it on, yes. Please leave it
So
on.
let's leave it
yes.
on. Yep. Next order is I have an item on here, but I think this is all set. I've already been in touch with a few folks, so move on to the next item, and that is.
Council Vice President?
Oh, do you have an update? Another update?
Yes, no.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Just having to do with Wellington Avenue. I spoke to DOT today. They were going to be meeting with their contractor to get an update. So I can email you as soon as they get back to me. I can email you to tell you where the status is about that equipment that's over there, because they did indicate at the end of November, sometime in December, they targeted to complete the project and remove whatever was over there. So I'm waiting for them to get back to me as a result of their conversations they had today with the contractor. So I should be able to get back to you shortly.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much for that due diligence.
So there's a
Appreciate it.
little bit that I was able to help.
Appreciate it. Every little helps. Thank you for that. All right, any questions on this matter before we move forward? No? Okay. The next item is the petition for the abandonment of portion of Elmhurst Avenue. The petitioner is Brian D. White. This was continued from the October 17th and November 14th meeting. Mr. Murray, how are you?
Good evening. Very quickly, with your permission, Robert Murray, 21 Garden City Drive in Cranston. With me this evening again is Mr. Brian White of 145 Wayland Avenue. He is the petitioner of this portion of Elmhurst Avenue. Members of the committee may recall we were here last month, and there were a couple of open items, which I think we've addressed. Just to refresh the committee's attention, this is property behind Mr. White's house. The road right now is not utilized. It is up above the Ocean State Job Lot parking lot, which is owned by CGRI Cranston Atwood LLC, which is a Copinato Group entity. The council president, I believe, just wanted assurance last month that they had no objection to the petition. I did send to the clerk, and I don't know if she shared it with the committee, a letter signed by Mr. Coates. I don't know if you have that, but I have extra copies if you need it. I gave the original to the clerk. As the abutter, the Copinato Group would inherit, would obtain 1/2 the bed of the road that's being abandoned if you approve it. And they're aware of that. They have no objection. As discussed last month, there is a sewer line in the portion of the road that we're asking to be abandoned. And between Mr. White and the Copinato Group, they will grant the necessary easements to Citizens Bank. It's a sewer line for Citizens Bank on Atwood Avenue into the city to have access for repair and maintenance if needed. So that would be addressed, and we would facilitate those documents if the abandonment is approved. Be happy to answer any other questions, but there is a figure of $15,000 that's part of the $15,000 that is part of the record that Mr. White would pay in compensation to the city if this 6,500 square foot parcel of the road is abandoned. Be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, great, thank you. Discussion.
Chair, should
Would
we,
you like to enter a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to enter this letter onto the record.
Second.
All right, there's a motion, a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, to the clerk, can you please take a roll on entering the item that was just provided into the record?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any discussion at all on the item that's before us this evening on this petition? Councilman Pampalakis.
Thank you. As the representative for this area in Ward 5, just want to let the committee know, even though I don't have a vote tonight, I've received no calls or concerns from the residents in the neighborhood surrounding it, so I have no issue with this application. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Sir, Mr. Murray, have you had any conversations with the surrounding, like any, other than the surrounding neighborhoods, any emails or from anyone that's in a position? I'm just curious.
I haven't been contacted by anybody. Mr. White, why don't you just come up and introduce yourself again?
Yep, Brian White, 145 Wayland Avenue, Cranston, Rhode Island. I've lived there all my life, and I've talked to all my neighbors, and I've told them what's going on, what the process has been like, and that they're all aware what's happening back there. But I know all of my neighbors around me, and they have no problem with what I'm about to do. So they have no issues. So yeah. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you. And I would assume all the neighbors received any, some sort of notification
Oh, yeah.
other than obviously,
I
your
verbally
conversation.
told them, but they were all aware, yeah.
All right, great. Any other questions at all on this? No? All right, seeing none. Through the clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Great.
you very much.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Next item is 10-2401, ordinance amendment of chapter 12.08.080 of the city of Cranston, 2005, entitled Sidewalk, Curb and Driveway Construction Sidewalk Cost Share Program. This is sponsored by Councilman Donegan and Councilman Campopiano. This was continued as amended on the November 14th committee meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion on this item? Councilman Donegan.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to rehash everything about the necessity of this, but I know last meeting I was absent due to parent-teacher conferences, and I know that there was an amendment made. I just want to say I appreciate the work of the committee on improving the ordinance. The amended version is better. I think it does a better job at clarifying the intent with physically disabled members of the immediate household that are present. So I just want to say thank you to the committee, Attorney Videcchia, for working on this, and I hope it comes out of committee this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Campopiano.
Thank you, Vice President. I want to echo the words of my colleague, Councilman Donegan, and I look forward to getting this passed, and it should be a help for the citizens of Cranston. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? All right, seeing none through the clerk, if you can please take a roll call on that.
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Great, thank you. On to the next item, and that is public comment. Is there anyone here to comment on docketed items only? All right, seeing none. Tom, is there anyone online on Zoom?
I'm saying no public comment.
Thank you. Public comments are now closed. Moving on to new matters before the committee. There are two petitions. The first one is a petition from the Narragansett Electric and Verizon New England, Inc. for installations of new poles on Charles Street. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none to the clerk, can you please take a roll?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Next petition is from Narragansett Electric for installation of the new pole on Pontiac Avenue. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none to the clerk, can you please take a roll?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Yes.
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilman Wall.
Yes.
Thank you. On to council communication. Councilman Wall, you have an item on there. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Tom, if you would, I put a little presentation. It's not the most professional in the world, but it kind of illustrates the point. A while back, and I spoke to Solicitor Videcchia as well. A while back, I had a chance to speak to some of the neighbors on the Lawn Acre area, especially in the area of 256, 248, right around that corner. And they have problems with the property that abuts 16 of their properties along Lawn Acre Drive. It's a 332,363 square foot property that abuts 15 properties. There's all kinds, and I'll show you some pictures going forward. There's all kinds of trees and shrubberies growing from that property into their properties. at times, the trees have been there since Garden City it started. So much like the trees in some of our areas, they're 50, 60, 70 years old. Their limbs are growing into the other people's yards. Their limbs are falling. Their canopy is covering their roofs and their sheds. And at times when pieces fall off or limbs fall off, it creates not only a problem, but a hazard to the people who are actually in the backyard, but also a hazard to their properties. So looking at it, and Tom, if you go back to the beginning, I just want to make sure I covered it. I just put a little list on the front. The property has been in, and I did a little checking with the tax assessor. The property has been, from what I can tell, in tax lien since 1991. It's owned, and to the best of my ability, I'm not a lawyer, it's owned by Bayview Builders, LLC, Inc., in Warwick, Rhode Island. From the best of my ability, they don't exist anymore. My rudimentary math, from what I got on the tax assessor's website, is 33 years times $2,934.32 is $96,000, $832.56 is owed to the city. If you look, Tom, if you could just show some of the pictures going forward, that's what I got on Vision Appraisal. So you can see the area in blue, and that's the 15 properties along Lawn Acre Drive. Very nice homes, but they're being their backyards are being spoiled and sometimes endangering their grandchildren by playing back there by this property that's a menace. Tom, could you proceed a little bit? That's one of the property owners, and you can see, I'll tell you what, that's not doing a lot of good for his shed. I'm not a roofer, but I've put a roof or two on. All right. And it's not something you can just trim with the clipper. You need a professional to take care of that, and it's very costly. That I tried to get this, and I tried to get I'm not a photographer, the best shot I could all the way down. But you can see that's 252 Lawn Acre Drive, and if you look, it looks like a jungle going down there. That's how badly overgrown it is. Tom, could you proceed again? Another of the same angle of the shed. You can proceed again. See, once again, you're seeing that. Also, that fence that he put up, the bushes and the roots from the other property, knock it down periodically. He has to do a little repair. Go on. If you would, a similar picture, same theme. And one more. That gets me to the end. So to make this presentation short and sweet, there's a couple of questions. And basically, it's what are we going to do? Because it's really not right. About the tax status, 33 years in tax lien, I think that's quite an issue. Can we find an owner, hold them responsible? And I just want to think about the property damages, the risks that are incurred by the neighbors of Zero Lawn Acre. They're forced to be incurred, and these issues and these risks are just going to get worse. This is 33 years growth, at least. So I'm looking for answers because I think we owe it to the people as a city to do something about this. That's what I have to say about it.
Thank you. The administration. Oh.
Through the chair, if I may just make some comments from the legal aspect of this. I had conversations with Councilman Wall. I've also met with Director Zadelis as recently as this morning. Councilman Wall is correct that the owner of these parcels is a defunct limited liability corporation by the name of Bayview Builders. The problem is their status as an LLC was revoked by the Secretary of State, I believe in 1993. So they no longer exist as a legal entity in the state of Rhode Island. Now, that has repercussions because a defunct LLC does not have the legal authority to transfer property or sell the property. They would have to get reinstated before they could do anything. Now, given the fact that we're talking
over 30 years of non-action, I doubt very, very much that, who even knows if the principals of this LLC are still alive, for that matter. So, the status, and again, complimenting, Councilman Wall, in reviewing this with, Director Zadelis, he showed me where in the past that a tax sale was held on this property. And no one bid on the property, not surprisingly. And since that time, no one has come forward to reclaim this property or to foreclose rights of redemption. No one has done anything. Now, the only path forward from here, from a legal standpoint, is the city, as I understand it, and I know there's no one here from the tax collector's office, but again, in speaking with Director Zadelis, the city normally holds tax sales, I believe, every May, once a year. And at that time, the public, anyone is free to purchase property at tax sale. At that point in time, the delinquent tax payer has 1 year to basically reclaim the property. If no action is taken in that 1 year, then what happens is the person who purchased it at tax sale has to file an action in Superior Court. And what that does, it perfects title in the purchaser of the tax lien, and it becomes their property. The problem here for the past several decades has been that no one has taken that step. So the only path forward would be this May, when the city has its tax lien sale, that the city of Cranston, the city would take the property in what's known as a collector's deed. Basically, that's a legal term for saying that the property would revert to the city in lieu of the $96,000 in back taxes. But again, the city, at that point in time, we would have to wait a year, because there is the opportunity for the builders, as of the LLC, as unlikely as that scenario may be, the law is they've got a year to come in, pay the $96,000 and redeem the property. That's the legal end of this. And that's not very helpful, obviously, because we're talking months going forward. It is also the law in Rhode Island that an abutting neighbor who is being infringed upon by vegetation, trees, things of that nature, has the legal authority to trim those encroaching branches, the encroaching vegetation up to their property line. So each one of the abutting property owners has a right under Rhode Island law to trim that encroaching vegetation right up to their property line. Now, I understand that there may be economic issues for a lot of the people there. Unfortunately, I can't speak to that. I can only tell you legally what can be done and what cannot be done. Now, the only other possibility, and this would be a policy decision on the part of the administration, if they were so inclined, is if the city felt it was a health and safety issue, then what would need to be done is the city would then need to get the permission of the abutting property owners and to go in onto the property and to do this work, even though the city is not, again, I want to emphasize, the city is not legally obligated to do this. So, you know, again, it's not, now it crosses the line from being a legal issue to a general policy issue. And at that point, I don't know how costly that would be. Again, that's a decision that's above my, my pay grade, but depending on what that cost was, the city would then be entitled to lien, that property. But it's almost a cat chasing its tail, so to speak, because ultimately we're going to end up with it, it seems. So no matter how you look at it, I don't know that the city will be able to recoup those costs. We would basically have a lien on property that's probably going to come back to us anyway, and we're going to have to eat the $96,000 in back taxes, not to mention any additional costs for doing this remediation work. So I don't know enough about the property itself. I understand anecdotally that it's unbuildable. I don't know that for a fact. It seems to be wetlands. But this is a decision, again, this will have to be a policy decision, whether or not the city wants to step in and do something here. But I need to emphasize, and I always say this with the utmost respect for, you know, the taxpayers and the public, but there's only so much as a city that we're legally obligated to do. We simply can't be property managers, and we can't be a legal firm for private citizens. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's the private citizen themselves have the power to do something about it. Now, I know economics plays a role in this, but that's really not the city's responsibility at that point. So again, this is going to come down to strictly a policy choice here. Legally, I outlined about the only path forward for the city. And ultimately, we would own this 323,000 square foot parcel. I don't know if it could be designated open space or go into a land bank. The other possibility is, and I'm just thinking outside the box, is that eventually perhaps some of the abutters could be approached. Once the city took legal possession of the property, perhaps it could be parceled off. People could add to their lots. The city might be able to raise and recoup some money that way. This is way down the line, I'm thinking. But at this point, from a legal standpoint, unfortunately, you've got a defunct LLC with no legal standing. God knows where the principals are. There's $100,000 in back taxes owed. And there isn't much we can do other than take this property back, and that's going to be a lengthy process.
Thank you, Solicitor Videcchia. Going back, and I do appreciate that, and it is, I mean, this is 33 years of problem.
Yeah.
Not just money, 33 years of growth, and it shouldn't have been 33 years. The people in this room aren't the people who caused this problem. I bring this up because I believe as a city, we have to do something to provide some relief. That's my belief. Mm-hmm. Legally, or do we have to is another story. But going back to what you said about the policy direction, you know, as a policy, and I realize we don't have an unlimited amount of funds, and I get it. How would I proceed in that direction? Because I think some of the neighbors, and I'm not going to bring their names out, but basically they've told me, Mr. Wall, and I can vouch for it. I have 80-year-old oaks in my backyard. When you take one of them down, you better open up your bank book, and sometimes you better plan ahead, because it's not a cost. You just take a couple of bucks out of your pocket. Expensive. You need professionals, and they don't come cheap. The policy direction, how would I proceed then to help these people out?
Well,
that's my question.
At this point, we're going into January. We're halfway through the budget cycle. Again, this isn't going to be an immediate solution, but the only suggestion I could make would be in the next budget cycle that some type of estimate be obtained as to what it would take, what it would cost to provide relief to these abutting property owners, and then budget that accordingly in the Public Works Department for next year. Other than that, it's an administrative decision. The money's already been appropriated to Public Works. It's within their discretion how to expend those funds. But if you wanted to tackle this issue And the council, as you know, will appropriate the necessary funds if it sees fit, and then it would be up to the administration at that point to carry out, that task. But right now, we're in the middle of a budget cycle. I would have to guess that this has not been budgeted. So I don't know where the money would come from.
Sure, but I believe we did have in some of those opera funds we allocated for tree trimming and perhaps some of that, I don't know, and something like that. Perhaps we could look at some of that. I'd be open to any ideas, certainly, and meet with the administration regarding it. And I know what you're saying. Budget season we're on the cusp of another budget season, so it's not in the current budget. I get it. But okay, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. It's not a quick fix either. And it would probably be more of a Band-Aid than a fix.
I think at the least, maybe there should be some type of a survey done just to get an idea of what it's going to take to alleviate this. There seem to be a lot of abutters. I don't know how, I'm assuming some have a bigger problem than others. It's not like they have to cut down trees with a 3-foot diameter. It seems like it's mostly branch type of trimming. I don't know. I'm not a tree expert, but maybe at the least, maybe a survey could be done just to get an idea, to get a handle on what the cost would be.
I could request that through the administration. Director Moretti, perhaps, I know you're kind of pinch hitting here for that, but perhaps you could answer that. Perhaps I could meet and we could do something, maybe check out some of these properties, the abutting properties. Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, sure, always open to do that. But the key word that Attorney Videcchia was mentioning, policy. I could tell you the mayor doesn't want to play favorites with anyone. He doesn't like the squeaky wheel. So whatever the policy is will apply for, in this case, along with any other case. So I don't think he's going to make exceptions. The policy probably should be administered fairly throughout the city to all property owners. So just want to keep that in mind. I think that's the fair thing to do, but certainly on a one-off basis, we could take a look at it. But key word there really, I think, would be policy. And that would be the fair thing for all the residents and taxpayers in the city.
And I agree with you. Certainly, I'm not disagreeing. I just wonder, is there going to be a lot of situations that are similar, that are comparable to neglect of 33 years of tax land, 33 years? I don't know. And I'm not telling you I know. I hope.
Here's another example. There's been a lot of news media attention and people speaking up about the mausoleum. Obviously, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars or greater than that if the city wishes to participate in that abandoned property. That's another example. So there's probably a lot of instances, and I think we ought to have a brainstorming if you want to think about that, but to see what order of magnitude, how many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars this presents to the city, and I think we can address it. Maybe we address them one by one.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or comments on this matter? All right, seeing none, I see no other items on the agenda. I will say that before we adjourn, I'm really happy to have been able to chair this committee for the last 2 years and looking forward to continuing staying involved with the next city council meeting and making city council members. And I also look forward to making sure that a lot of the items on here, whether it's from rodents, potholes, rest assured that from my other capacity, I will continue to advocate for those through my local council Ward 1 member, as well as potentially other ones in Ward 2 and 3 as well. It's been an honor sharing with each and every one of you and those who sit on the committee and those who are, and obviously the rest of the city council members. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'm going to make some comments during ordinance committee, but so I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Ayes have it. If that was only one eye, but I think ayes have it, right? All right, thank you. Okay. All right, good evening, welcome. All right, well, good evening, welcome to the Ordinance Committee meeting. It's Thursday, December 5th. Through the clerk, can you please take a roll call?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Present.
Councilman Wall,
Here.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Here.
Councilwoman Horoyan, Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Campiano.
Present.
All right, thank you. Is the approval of minutes of the November 14, 2024 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, through the clerk, can you please take the roll?
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
All right, great, thank you. What I'd like to do next is put a motion to take the agenda out of order, please.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? No? All right, I think through the clerk, we have to take a vote on that as well, correct? All right, can you please do a
Council-
roll call?
Council Vice President Vargas.
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item that I'm gonna, I'd like to move into is the new matters before the committee. And that is 11-2402, the ordinance and amendment of Title 9, Chapter 4 to the Code of the City of Cranston 2005, entitled Offenses Against Public Peace and Decency. This is sponsored by Mayor Ken Hopkins, and the administration is here this evening. Director Moretti, would you like to speak on this?
Thank you, Council Vice President. The administration, the mayor wishes to withdraw 7-2403, please.
Okay. You're gonna withdraw that one, and then the one that we have before us right now, which is 11-2402.
11-2402, we'd like to withdraw without prejudice, please.
Okay, so you are withdrawing, just so that I understand correctly, 11-2402. And there is another item on the docket, which is 7-2403 under committee matters, business matters carried over, and that is ordinance and amendment of Title 9, Chapter 4, of the Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Offenses Against Public Peace and Decency. And that was also sponsored by Mayor Hopkins. That is being withdrawn as well.
That is being withdrawn, yes, permanently, and 11-2402 withdrawn without prejudice, please.
Okay, thank you. Just double checking on here, when an item is being withdrawn, do we need any roll call at all, or is there just being withdrawn to our city solicitor?
Not necessary.
Great, thank you so much. All right, those two items are being withdrawn. So what I'd like to do next now is go back up to committee business matters carried over. The next item is 9-24-02, and that is ordinance and amendment of Title 10, Chapter 32, Section 030 of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Multi-Way Stop Intersections. Enumerated, added four-way stop at Packard Street and Flint Avenue. This is sponsored by Councilman Donegan. Councilman Donegan, floor is all yours.
Thank you. I'm pleading with all of you to let me leave my time on the city council with one last ordinance, being adding a stop sign on a street that abuts the one that I live on. Talking with neighbors over the years, it's necessary, and it wasn't until 2 or 3 months ago that one of my neighbors approached me and was like, I think it's time, let's get the stop sign. So I kind of usually wait until someone explicitly requests it. They did. I agree with the necessity. And I think the traffic engineer did send an email last month or earlier this month that they're in agreement with the amended version as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Councilman Paplaskas.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. While I'm not on this committee and have a vote tonight, I really hope this passes so I can support it at the full council. Thank you.
You.
You know what? I would like to co-sponsor this. Thank you.
That being said, I'll be added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you. All right, we have a Councilwoman Zuli who would like to be added as well. Anyone else?
I don't even know what intersection it is. Okay.
It's Packard and
I'll
Flint.
stay
Ave.
off.
All right, perfect. Okay, so any other discussion on this item? All right, there's a motion, a second discussion. The clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Wall,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Campiano.
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is public hearings and public comments. Is there anyone here to speak on docket items that are on the ordinance committee this evening? Seeing none. Tom, is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on docket items?
There is no public comment.
Thank you, Tom. That being said, public comments are now closed. And I believe that is it for.
Motion to adjourn? Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I want to thank you for your time chairing both the Public Works and the Ordinance Committee. You have such a breadth of knowledge and experience in state and local government, and it really shines through here in the meetings. Your intimate knowledge of how these things work has been such a tremendous benefit for all of us on the committee and on the city council. So I want to say I appreciate the way you've chaired the meetings. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Go ahead, Councilman Noel.
I also would like to send some accolades your way. I known you before you were councilman, you were just Lamas at that time. I appreciate, as I came on, I came on at kind of a weird part. You being very supportive and very helpful, and questions were always answered with no judgment, no matter how foolish they might have been. And I wish you well.
Councilman Wall.
So unlike 2 years ago, aren't you glad I wasn't sitting next to you while you were running those meetings? Nice job and thank you.
Papalaskas.
Thank you. Wonderful work. It's not easy chairing multiple committees, especially on the same night, and you hit home runs every single night. So look forward to working with you at the State House, and you did a great job. So.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for your support as well. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. And when in doubt, I always turn to all of you for informative discussion, respectful discussion, and debate as well, which I think is always needed for some checks and balances around here. So, Councilwoman Renzulli.
And finally, Lamas, I will thank you for asking just as many questions as I do. So you make me feel better in that regard. And thank you for being a good colleague across the aisle. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate it. And I again, I'll wait until the city council meeting, but I do appreciate the fact that no bias here, but we had 4 women serving on the council. There's not going to be 4 next year, but I am still really happy and honored the fact that we had 4 women serving in the last few years, and more power to our younger, the young girls, right, that look up and can see all of us as they too can one day be representing the city as well. So thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.